Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capes Not Included. My name is Danny J. You're on the DJB Productions Network, so just click that notification bell, click the subscribe button down below, and as always, leave comments. We want to hear from you. Got a great show for you today. We're going to do a little retrospect back on a little gem known as Spider-Man Unlimited. This was a one-time series that we'll get into the details about it, what was going on, why it was canceled, what I feel like prematurely, and we're going to go from there. But before we get into everything, let's show everybody who's on the show today. Of course, my main man, LeGrand Jackson.
Yo, what's up, people?
Back on Capes Not Included. And the host of New Comic Book Wednesdays, my man, Bobby T. Bob Taylor in the house.
What up, what up?
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on? So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to talk about this today. Basically, let me give a rundown and then we'll get into what's going on. For those of you who don't know about this particular property, there was a lot of Spider-Man properties that were out there, and this one was kind of unique. At the end of the Spider-Man the Animated Series, which lasted about 4 seasons, or 5, was it 4 or 5 seasons? I don't remember. I think it was 4 seasons. Was it 5 seasons? 5. Yeah. Which was a huge hit in the 90s for Fox. They, right at that time, 1999, Batman Beyond came out. This was a new take on the Batman mythology. This was a futuristic Batman where Terry McGinnis becomes Batman with an old Bruce Wayne behind him. It's a brand new suit. It's a futuristic Gotham City, and it was a huge hit. So Marvel wanting to capitalize on that and saying, hey, we have a property kind of like that too. It's called Spider-Man 2099. Pretty decent comic book rendition of it. People were liking it. It was a new take on these characters that we're familiar with. But the problem was Fox wasn't too keen on having a Spider-Man that wasn't Peter Parker. Just coming out of the animated series, they said, okay, we can greenlight this, but you need to make it Peter Parker. But we want to capitalize on what's going on with Batman Beyond, etc. So do your thing, Marvel Studios, okay? So what we get is a Peter Parker. This is kind of like a pseudo sequel to the animated series in a way.
Yeah.
It kind of leaves off. It kind of forgets the whole I'm going off to find Mary Jane in the multiverse with Madam Web. It forgets about all that and just starts off with Mary Jane, and it's day number 2, okay, for Peter Parker. He goes out and basically what happens, John Jameson, the son of J. Jonah, being an astronaut, there's a mission goes out and they find a wormhole in space. And this wormhole basically takes them to the other side of our sun. Okay, so not that far. It's not like they're jumping into different universes or anything like that. Just to the other side of the sun, and it turns out in our blind spot is another Earth, just on the opposite side of the sun. We can't see it. They call it Counter Earth. So a unmanned satellite goes there. It goes down. They lose communication with it. So John Jameson, being the brave astronaut that he is, says, I want to go up and we're going to find out what's going on. Okay, so he goes through the wormhole and then gets shut down or whatever the case would be, has some problems. We're going to get into why. And then he's gone. So now within that year, 6 months to a year, they're preparing a new ship to go up to try and find John Jameson and rescue him, etc. So Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, off camera, goes to Reed Richards and swipes a new nanotech watch, which will create a brand new suit for him because his suit was damaged in some of his adventures right here on a regular Earth. And strangely enough, with a few different design modifications, it looks a lot like Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099. with the cape and everything, right? So he has all these new power, not new powers, but he has new activities. He's got a stealth mode. He's got projectiles. The nanotech really works well for Peter and brings him into the now. So he goes off to counter Earth to try and find John Jameson. Okay. Now, along for the ride are our good pals Venom and Carnage. And he's got to stop them for what's going on with what they're trying to do. And we don't know. And then he reaches counter Earth, where he finds that this Earth, yeah, it's just like ours, except a known character known as the High Evolutionary, years earlier, settles down on that Earth, decides that the human beings on there are just as bad as the human beings on our Earth, and starts tampering with genetics, makes the bestials. These are human beast hybrids because he feels that the animal kingdom is a lot more majestic than we are, and therefore a lot more tame, a lot more peaceful, and more unified. So they become the dominant species of the planet. They live above the clouds, and everybody that's on the ground, which they call the basement, are the regular humans who are basically like slums. This is like the Narrows in Gotham. The whole planet's like this. The whole planet's like this, okay? So everybody's like a deadbeat. They got to scramble and try and, not starve and stuff like that. Parker goes there. He interacts with the bestials, blah, blah, blah. He finds John Jameson, finds out there's a rebellion going against these bestials, okay? So Spider-Man joins this rebellion with John Jameson to try and free this planet, free the humans on there. He encounters a lot of different versions of villains that he knows. Some on this planet are heroes, some are villains, vice versa, etc. So it's kind of a unique scenario for Spider-Man. Meanwhile, at home, he's got Mary Jane, and there's a lot of questions that ensue. So now that we got that going on, let's get you guys into a little bit better viewing special here. All right, guys. So now, first of all, I believe if you look at the animation style, I thought it was very reminiscent of one of probably the best animated cartoon features, which was X-Men, the animated series.
Yes.
I don't really see that.
You don't see that all? I mean, they did with this.
I always thought that this show, I'm not saying that, I mean, the show was short-lived. And
Yes,
it never made it to a second season. But this show was a launching platform. All right.
Yeah.
And it was only made. Me and you talked about this last time. All right. First off, I think it was a little more reminiscent of Batman Beyond, and that was done purposely.
Oh yeah, that's what it was, a complete counteraction.
Animation style wise. Now, what I did love about this show is the comic book aspect of it. How it was drawn like a comic book, and it had panels and narration and cloud bubbles and stuff like that. But this show was made because it came out around the same time as Batman Beyond. They were using Batman Beyond as a launching platform,
yes,
but they were also using this show for another show and toy line. All right.
Yeah.
First off, this show never had a toy line, and that's why it never made it to season 2. All right. But the same company, the same production company, also created another show and toy line called Animorphs.
Yes.
And that's where the Bestials came in. And that's why they did this, because the Animorphs were basically bestial.
Yes. Yes, they were.
So
now,
they used
aspect
this show
that I
as a
saw
launching platform for many other things.
when I reminiscent to X-Men, if you look at the X-Men animated series, the animation, although it's like good and bad at the same time, okay, very comic book-esque once again. Now, X-Men did not use panels. They did not use Meanwhile or any of that kind of stuff, which is what they did use with Spider-Man Unlimited. But the animation style was very comic book-esque as far as how the figures were drawn, how they were presented, etc. Where I was just recently reviewing the entire show, the entire season, and where they really kicked into Batman Beyond was the soundtrack. Batman Beyond went a different route, and they went with guitar riffs. They went with a metal, not say metal per se, but a rock
Kind of
music
rock,
actor.
new age.
Yeah, it wasn't pop music. It wasn't dance or clubbish. It was rock, and it was kind of like this. And I have the Batman Beyond soundtrack, which is just a great sound. That guitarist, I forget his name, but he was so good, and the stuff he did originally was just so great on that soundtrack. But they did stuff very similar on this show. Spider-Man's backtracks weren't like, like from the animated series, like da, na, 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 na. It wasn't anything like that. This was more haunting guitar riffs that showed that there was some problems on this planet. Spider-Man wasn't this happy-go-lucky Spider-Man. He made some jokes here and there, but he wasn't silly. He wasn't like over the top like a kid because he's an adult in this. He was somewhat very serious, and it gave off that dark, brooding kind of atmosphere that Batman Beyond gave off. And I think that's really aided in me liking it and watching it. This would be probably the third time I watched the series all the way through. I got to honestly say, I liked it more now than I did the last two times. You see different characters in there. You see different things are going on, and the content was very, very serious. It was very, very superhero-esque in a sense. It wasn't a one-off adventure. This was like
Well, you figure it this way. What they were doing with this series is what they haven't done with Spider-Man in the past, especially coming off the original series that they had on Fox. And it was giving Spider-Man more edge. He's older, he's grizzled, he knows a lot more about the world. He had this adventure through time and space trying to find his now wife and everything. And he's been seasoned.
Yeah.
So all the juvenile antics that he had before weren't there. He was trying to hold on to some of what made him him.
Yes.
But it was hard because he went through a lot. He
wasn't a kid anymore.
Right. And I know there's always a fine line. There's a lot of people that say that's not my Spider-Man. Bob, we have a mutual friend who always says that's not my Spider-Man. That type of thing. But I was never a super fan of a over the top, this guy never shuts the hell up joking Spider-Man. He didn't have to be like Batman per se. He could be smart mouthed, but I never liked him to be so over the top silly that you get annoyed with him, which I know is part of his persona, to say he would frustrate his adversaries because of how his quips were. And, he's constantly joking around. He wasn't taking anything seriously. And I know that's the fun part of Spider-Man, but like in the animated series, he wasn't that bad. And in this series, he definitely wasn't. He was more brooding in this one.
Right.
If
you look at him, he was more kind of like Dick Grayson before he broke off and became Nightwing.
Yes, exactly. And the funny thing is too, not only did they kind of almost match lick for lick the music from Batman Beyond onto Spider-Man Unlimited, but the actor who played Peter Parker in this, I believe, I'm almost 99.9% sure, was a Latino actor, which then brings me back to Miguel O'Hara, who was 2099 and who was the original thought process behind making Spider-Man Unlimited. So it's kind of like everybody kind of got everything in, even down to who's portraying who on this cartoon. It was really, really interesting because now going back and watching it again, I'm looking for certain things that I was just enjoying the show before, but now I'm looking at different things and I'm thinking, this guy, and his name was like Rhino something, I forget the actor's name, but he was a Latino actor, okay? And I'm like, that's kind of neat. Like they kind of have Miguel O'Hara, even though they didn't get Miguel O'Hara with the series,
Right.
They got Batman Beyond, but they didn't have Batman Beyond with the series. Potentially, do you think, Bob and LeGrand, that perhaps the bestial storyline, although was half decently good, maybe was too much out of the element for Spider-Man?
Well, I said this to you before too. I think a lot of that was robbed from other series.
Yes.
All right, first off, you had the sort of bestials in Batman Beyond, but they were junkies. They were like shooting themselves up with like drugs to become half beast, half man.
Yeah, it was like a
Right.
fad. It was like a fad drug. Yeah.
And at the same time, in the DC universe, I mean, you have the High Evolutionary.
Yeah.
We had the New Gods,
Yes.
and the New Gods also did a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and every time you and I and LeGrand and Matt get together and we do one of these, I always have to compare how Marvel robs everything from DC ultimately. Okay? Marvel to me is a sham. I love their characters, don't get me wrong, but everything they have was created on the lazy side. All right? Except for their like original 7 main characters, everything was created on the lazy side or was stolen. There are no original ideas left. They have to take somebody's idea, turn it to the left, and make it their own. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is just stolen and tweaked.
I mean, DC did it too. I mean, it's not like they didn't do it.
DC didn't do it. Everybody's a Tom Brady.
That's a wrestling gimmick. I got news for you. They're gonna bring it full circle. Like Ray's laughing because he knows what I'm talking about. This is a complete wrestling gimmick. Oh, they got Goldberg. They got Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let's make Goldberg. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I get you.
So, I mean, yes, it is. For me, Marvel characters, and it is the basis behind how Stan Lee and Mike Ditko wrote these characters. They made them more relatable. Because their intention with a lot of the Marvel writing was to depict stuff that people were experiencing at that time, i.e. the mutants and everything that we see about the mutants. And I'm not talking about their powers. I'm talking about how
you go into the mutants with me. You know how I feel about the mutants.
But that was a scenario to talk about segregation. At the time when they were created, segregation was boom, right then and there. It was happening, and it was a hot button, and it couldn't be any hotter than what it was. So they were able to talk about it, substituting race for mutant capabilities. And I think they did a fantastic job using that platform. And this goes back to something like me and LeGrand always talk about all the time, because I love Black Lightning, but I hate the platform that they jump on because they're so and it's like, dude, just let the guy be a superhero. I don't want to hear any of this other bullshit anymore. You know what I mean? And not because I'm ignorant to it, but because all right, you're overdoing it. Look at that look. See, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't think they did an overlook.
We had this conversation during the whole crisis thing, and you were like, they're too black. You said they're too black. They're too black in your face.
I'll tell you right now.
Black superhero with black superhero kids is just blackity black.
And I got news for you. Let me tell you something. We're going to talk about it another because the season finale just happened, and we're going to have another show about this. But once again, the only white guy that survived in that city was Gambi. And you know why? Because he was Italian. He's not white. I'm just saying. Okay. The Paisan took care of himself. I'm just saying. But anyway.
I think you're on your own with that one, my man.
I know, right? So, but with this Spider-Man, it was very interesting what they did, because now you have, like you said, it's like the Narrows in Gotham City. It's a slump. Right. These people are starving. They're just trying to get by. The kindness level of the characters, the way you see them interact with each other, it's like, it's you and me, pal. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
We're going to die if we fight each other. So,
you know what the show, I don't know if you guys are big Star Trek fans or not.
I am. Yes.
Okay. The original series of Star Trek had an episode that was very similar to this Spider-Man series, where the basically high evolutionaries lived in the clouds, yes, and the muckety mucks lived down on the earth. All right. This has been since H.G. Wells. This has been an ongoing thing. Like everybody has done Sins of the Father
Yeah.
Everyone has done, you know what I'm saying? So everybody just keeps taking this idea.
And not to
The
interrupt
haves
you,
and the have-nots.
not to interrupt you, but on Spider-Man the animated series, they had it was a 3-part episode or 2-part episode, Sins of the Father. And on Spider-Man Unlimited, the second to last episode was Sins of the Father. They did
And
it again.
X-Men. X-Men also had episode called Sins of the Father.
These daddies
Everybody's
suck.
going to pull that old trope out and eventually.
Yeah. You know what?
Eventually.
Maybe their mothers sucked. I'm just saying, leave the dads alone. Okay.
Sins of the mother.
The sins of the
No,
mother.
they didn't suck, and that's why they exist.
That bitch.
Because they didn't swallow. Because they didn't swallow.
So we get a lot of cool things happen. Right? I know, right? We get a lot of cool things that happen in this show. We get a hero or / anti-hero Green Goblin, which is kind of neat. They didn't have the chance to really explore it, but I wanted to see Spider-Man having this like not love-hate relationship with him, but really being apprehensive because this is like your main villain. It's like Batman going to another planet and the Joker's a good guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
I wanted to see that more, but it was kind of neat to have that they had this guy, and I think he was voiced by the same guy that voiced Peter Parker, and once again was a Latino guy because he had a Latino accent, the Green Goblin. So that was kind of cool. I'm like, all right.
And he was drawn really strange too.
He really was. He had sort of an apparatus which made him fly rather than using a glider. He had wings.
Yeah, but wasn't he like? I mean, strange. I haven't seen the show in a while. But wasn't he like kind of really like tall and lanky and Scarecrow-esque looking?
Scarecrow-esque looking. He had like very steampunk because he had like goggles on.
Yeah, the goggles. Yeah,
and he was just like, and he was he did more wisecracking than Spider-Man did. So that was kind of weird, right? Then you get a episode with a Vulture, who is once again a anti-hero. Okay, he's not a bad guy in this. And he was drawn pretty well. I was like, that's kind of cool. I think my favorite rendition they did was the Hunter, who was Craven. The planet was Hunter, and he had like a mohawk type of thing. He looked really cool. And they didn't really change much with him. He was a hunter, and he was going after the most, exclusive game out there. And in this case, it was Spider-Man. The thing they did with him, though, is that he was very revered by the Bestials because of what he does. I think it was kind of like a keep our enemies close type of thing.
Right.
They respected him, but they feared him because he really did not give a fuck about them at all. He was out.
Not one bit.
He could take you out, and he could take you out, and that would be it. So that was kind of a neat thing, bringing the Hunter in, which was kind of cool. I was not happy with the symbiotes. I can tell you that right off the bat. Venom was drawn okay, except for the fact that he had spikes on his back. I didn't know and the spider on the front stopped on the front, and on his back he had protruding spikes, not big ones, but like studs on his back. It didn't make sense. Carnage looked horrible. Carnage, you want to talk about a scarecrow? He was like a skeleton. He was like a red skeleton.
Red skeleton, supremely lanky.
He was like Jack Skellington.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. He was like Jack Skellington. Exactly. He was like bony, and he looked weird and stuff like that. They did not portray the craziness of Cletus Cassidy like they did on the animated series previous to this series. They were just like there. I don't think much thought went into the symbiotes at all. And then their big thing, because they were like a subplot of the whole thing, which kind of like you're going to another Earth. I don't understand why you would need a subplot because he has all these new adventures at this point. But they were a subplot where they were trying to connect to the synoptic, which, as far as I know, they're just trying to play on a symbiote word. I never heard of a synoptic. Have either one of you ever heard of a synoptic in the comic books?
Not offhand.
No, I mean I never did. Because the race is called and you don't. I don't think by the time the show it was out, I don't think they had a name for the symbiote race yet. I really don't think they did. I know we learned that in the comics, I think in Planet Venom or something, Planet of Symbiotes, but I don't think that was out yet. Was that out in '99?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was. So I think we don't learn their race's name until afterwards. But they basically, I think we're using this word synoptic as like a hive mind for the symbiotes. But the symbiotes,
a jump off point, something to give them like an anchor.
Yeah, almost like the Borg on Star Trek. Going back to your Star
exactly.
Trek. But the symbiotes looked like little lobster people.
What year?
99 to 2001.
Planet of Symbiotes came out in 1995.
Oh, okay.
But did it say anything about the synoptic? Well, I know we learned their race in that, didn't we?
It was a 5-issue miniseries written by David McLean.
I mean, you might not. I mean, you might not.
Centers Invasion of Earth and symbiotes and efforts of Venom, Spider-Man, and Scarlet Spider to stop them.
But we don't learn their name, do we? In that, I don't remember. Honestly,
I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't.
Because I know we learn their name later on in Venom's life, as far as a comic book is concerned. We don't learn it like right off the bat because they had to make that shit up. But the synoptic thing, what they were growing almost looked like aliens. They were coming out of eggs,
right,
like the face huggers, and they looked like face huggers. Is what they actually did. They looked like face huggers, and they would jump on somebody, and instead of making a new symbiote like Carnage, like Venom, they would be like a chest plate tied into their neck, and they're like a zombie. So it didn't make much sense. So I didn't know if they really knew what they were going with there, other than having them in for familiarity with the character, because he's on this counter Earth, and it's not like what his normal adventures. I think the writing was really good. It was really deep. Okay. The suit was great, even though it was a play on Spider-Man 2099. The suit was great. I liked that he had these different options, and the series finale, which was the season finale, but ended up being a series finale, it ends on a huge cliffhanger. Huge cliffhanger. Like you're like,
which pissed everybody off.
It did. And you know what else too?
You didn't get to see it.
You didn't. Fox did not air the season finale. That last episode, which was a lot of shit happening.
They did the same goddamn thing with the New Adventures of He-Man and the new Thundercats. The He-Man was getting so good with the Snake Man. I was into it on the edge of my seat every week. I was like, yes, He-Man night. And then they canceled the series and didn't show you how it ended.
Right. And didn't I tell you before, as soon as they change the name of it, it's Jumping the Shark, and you know it's going to be in its last season.
Absolutely.
Like this happened with like Incredible Hulk. In the 90s, the late 90s, we had the Incredible Hulk series, which once again was a more serious, very brooding, very dark series about the Hulk. And then in season 2, it goes to the Incredible Hulk and She-Hulk. You know, it didn't change the way it was animated, it didn't change the writing style and all, but it was its last season. It went away as soon as they changed the name. And as soon as they did that with He-Man, I knew that was going to happen. But you end Spider-Man Unlimited on a huge cliffhanger. I mean, just a gigantic cliffhanger, which kind of pissed me off with that. Because you really want to know what's happening. Because actually, not to let it, I want people to go out and watch it. You can definitely do it like that.
Absolutely.
But the cliffhanger ties up the Bestial storyline, but then is now bringing in the symbiotes.
Right.
The symbiotes are doing. Now we're going back we're making that subplot, calling it up to the main roster, so to speak, and we're going to get something out of this. Meanwhile, what everybody's hoping throughout the entire series, Parker yet does not have a way to get back home. He did in the series finale, but he had to mess it up to save the day. So now, after stuck, He can't go home to Mary Jane. You're wondering, as a comic book fan, as a superhero fan, well, if Spider-Man's now on this earth for the better part of a year, what the hell's happening on regular Earth in his territories? You know what I mean? Who's picking up the mantle over there? Who could possibly come over to Counter Earth and help Spider-Man? It was opened up for so many things. Here's the reason
I always said it should have been the Fantastic Four, because
Yes.
Reed Richards made the suit for him. He should have had a way to track that suit, and they also had a space vehicle.
It would
They
be
could have
great
went
if
over.
you went over there and he mugged Spider-Man for that watch. Say, give me that watch back, thief! You punk! You know, he throws him his old man. He throws him the trash bag with the spare Fantastic Four. Yeah, go like that for now, Mr. Unknown. You jerk off.
This is yours. This is mine.
That would have been great. Now, here's the deal. You go in and you're getting all this stuff going on. You're like, all right, now, you know, who's going to come in? Who's going to save Spidey? What alliances is Spider-Man going to do here? He's even starting to fall for Naoki, who's the doctor that he lives with on that planet. Because now he's getting this, because Peter Parker always has a fucking love triangle. Always has a love triangle. And this was no better. This happened here. So you really wanted to see him cement his feet in here and really like save the day. I personally would have loved to see him actually get home, but then has to go back to be the hero. Like sacrifice his life. Give him a little bit of closure on his Earth because he's got to go back and have that emotional roller coaster happening because our hero's got to leave us because he's a hero. I would have loved to have seen that. That's what I would have liked.
Right.
But
like I said, we even talked about this before. He could have stayed on Counter Earth forever, and it never would have fucking mattered.
no,
The only person that would have missed him would have been Aunt May. All right.
yeah, because Mary Jane would have walked off on him a long time ago.
He's from New York.
Yeah.
You know how many heroes New York has to take his place? On
Yeah,
that
true.
planet, there were only 2 heroes.
Yeah,
You know?
and they were slums.
Yeah.
They were slums. They couldn't get ahead to save their life. You know, Spider-Man made everything happen. You know what I mean? But here's a cool thing about the series too. They gave you little bit tidbits of there, a number of different comic book storylines that were not attached to any, like to the animated series or anything like that. Like we get the Man Wolf, which was kind of cool. The way they did it, they retconned it a little bit that he was like,
Well, that's because they never gave it to you in Amazing Spider-Man.
no, they didn't. They did it in. No, they did it in a comic book. I was reading a comic book. They didn't do it on TV. So yeah, so I was thinking, wait, they did. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. So we get
I
Man
don't
Wolf.
know why they didn't do. They could have still mixed that into that original series.
I think that would have been a great 3-page arc. They did Morbius,
Right.
and that was a horrific scenario. Why couldn't they do that? We even get, for a split second, the Man Spider.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because the Bestials are trying to turn him. They're like, there's a battle. They're getting ready to turn him. And he was starting to turn. And I think the Man Spider storyline, seeing our hero in a way become a victim of himself, and people like the Punisher and Craven are going to hunt him down, but have to choose, what do we do with this guy? Do we take him out, or do we try and save him? And go through that moral dilemma. That dynamic is something I craved when I see these type of things. Like in the animated series, they kind of did it. The Punisher was balls to the wall saying, "Hey, I'm going to put a bullet in his head." And Craven was
But
one
that's
of
what
like,
the Punisher does. The Punisher doesn't really give a shit.
"No,
It's one
he
of
doesn't."
those, you know what? He's a problem. Guess what's going to happen?
Right. But meanwhile,
know.
Craven was his hero in that story arc.
Right.
What were you going to say, Bob? I'm sorry.
I said Battle Van.
Battle Van, yes. We got Microchip, and that was so good. I wanted to see more. And here's the deal too. I kind of liked that they didn't like say they made everybody a counter. Like this was an opportunity to create new villains, new heroes,
Right.
in a sense. And I think they fell short on that. Now, had the series moved on, potentially, but I think they were going with, let's keep it familiar, and we'll just retcon certain characters that we know to be a hero or a villain or whatever the case would be, and for the nostalgic purpose. But this was an opportunity to give Spider-Man something new that maybe we didn't have a chance to experience with them. Because let's face it, when we watch these shows, when we read these comic books, we're along for the ride. We're experiencing what they are experiencing as a symbiote. We're the symbiote in a sense, you know. So in knowing that, I would like to see more. I'll let you guys in on something I was working on and I never got to fruition, because I have a couple buddies that are in comics. They actually draw and they write and stuff like that. And I was like, I had a idea, which Bob, you're gonna laugh because it's stolen from a lot of different places, but it was called Starship Avenger. Now I'm gonna give you the whole plot line. This was going to be like a 5-book arc, right? They discover a wormhole. Go figure. Everybody's fucking discovering a wormhole. Okay. So, they discover a wormhole and they are going to set up a ship designed by Tony Stark to go up and for astronauts to go up and blah, 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 and go into this wormhole. Right. So he makes 2 ships. He has a prototype and he has the one that he gives to the government. Right. And Dr. Doom steals the main ship and goes off into the wormhole, right? So because they have the prototype, Tony Stark grabs a number of people. He grabs Peter Parker, he grabs Wolverine, he grabs Storm, and a couple other people, right?
A ragtag
and hero, right? And they go off after him, right?
Inglorious
Right. And here's the deal. Half-ass, it's almost like Star Trek, where it's like Wolverine is the war officer. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is the science officer. Stuff
Who's
like
wearing the red shirt?
Spider-Man, of course. So then
anybody's gonna die.
We're going through the wormhole, right? And imagine that, you know, like when you see them going through hyperspace and stuff's going like this, right? They are fighting, they're shooting at Dr. Doom. And Dr. Doom they blow out something and he goes out of that wormhole, right? And then they arrive out seconds after him. But because he went out first and went out to the side, he arrived 1 year prior to them, which gave him this entire time to conquer this part of the universe, gets an entire army together, blah, 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 with the final act being they go out there, they have some adventures out in space, different planets, blah, blah, blah. So this is their opportunity to face not people that they're familiar with, new threats, okay? Because they're out in space, new aliens, all kinds of stuff. So they do those little one-off adventures, but the final arc is Dr. Doom is now coming back to take over Earth, which was his initial intention in the first place, and they have to come back to try and stop him and his newfound army that he created on the other side of the universe. That was my thing. It was called Starship Avenger, and it never came to fruition.
How old are you, Dan?
I will be 46 this June.
All right, so you're close to the same age as me.
Yes.
When I was a kid, there was another cartoon called Starcom
Yes.
with Tatatouille.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the ship was the Starship Avenger.
Yeah, it was. That's right. That's right. That was the one where they had magnet lock feet.
Yes.
Yes. The toys were cool as shit.
Yeah.
I love the toys. The toys were great. So now here's the thing. Now I said everything I loved about Spider-Man. I said about the animation. I said about the storytelling. And it was very reminiscent of X-Men with those dabs of Batman Beyond thrown in there. So it really had me hooked. Here's what happened, because you're going to say, Dan, if this show was so great, why did it last one season? Why did they not even show the last episode? What bullshit are you spilling to me? Here's what happened. Pokemon, of all fucking things, is huge at this time. Huge, huge. Let me be on the record. I never watched an episode, and I do not like Pokemon. I'm going to tell you straight up.
Love Pokemon.
Bob loves this shit. I cannot stand it.
Charmander is my homie.
You know, can't stand it, right? Well, because Pokemon was with the WB, I think it was with Warner Brothers, had that syndication scenario going on.
Initially, yes.
Yeah. Fox needed something to counteract Pokemon. So what do? They buy, or not buy, but they get the rights to the show, Digimon. Digimon was actually, on certain times, preempting Spider-Man Unlimited. That certain episodes were like 1 week we went up, there was 2 episodes of Digimon instead of Spider-Man Unlimited going into his normal time slot. And then once, like I said, they didn't show that last episode. You know why? Because it was a Digimon fucking war going on with Pokemon. And all of a sudden, everybody went to fucking playing cards and watching stuff. And this was, and I believe in my heart and soul, the beginning of the end of intelligent cartoons that went against the masses. I think the powers that be, and it's not the animators, it's not the writers, it's the networks, Fox, Cartoon Network, we can throw them in the mix. Now, they are going after a certain demographic, and I think they underestimate that demographic. Now, you fast forward, that was 2001. We're in 2020. Now, Imaginative Play is completely dead. It is gone because everybody is in some sort of a digital format. They play on hand games. They play role-playing games on the computer. You do not see kids playing with action figures. Action figures.
I'm going to tell you one reason why that is.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because of the internet, because a lot of times toys aren't cost effective. If you remember when we were kids, every action figure line had a play set.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now there are no more play sets. So that cuts out imagination right there.
But you know what, though? I collected.
Also, toy lines when we were kids had 40, 50, 100 different action figures.
They did.
Now you get 5 figures and it's it.
Yeah, they don't bother with anybody else. Well, there's no story. That's
Right.
why. There's no story. When I was collecting Spider-Man and X-Men, I was spending, no lie, $85 a week completing sets. There would be 5, 6 characters in a set. This is the Age of Apocalypse set, and there were 6 figures, and I got all that. And here's the Spider-Man, the animated series, Planet of Symbiotes set, and I got all the symbiotes, you know, and I spent that money. Now, I opened them because at that time, up until the time my first daughter was born, which was in my 30s, I loved my action figures. I loved playing with them. I got a creative charge out of visibly seeing something happening in front of me. Okay. In wrestling, I wrote and I promoted and I came up with ideas based on my wrestling figures, seeing how it would play out in my mind. And I needed to visually see it. And I did the same thing with action figures. I loved the adventure, and I would come up with storylines for my figures. Okay. And storyline, when I tell you storylines, not like play, you know, like you see commercials of kids or whatever, movies, whatever. Oh, look, he's a bad guy. Bop, 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 and they're doing bullshit like that. I set precedents where even if this was a limitation to my hero that was going to make him not win, I stuck to it because that was the writing I was doing of the storyline. And how is he going to overcome this obstacle? Okay. That's the way I thought. That's the way I was with my action figures. And I loved them. I loved the visual of them. I loved the play. You buy an action figure now, you're minimally getting away with $20, where I was paying $4.99 over KB Toys and House. You know what I mean? Now imagine that at $5 a fucking action figure, I was spending $85 a week. Now,
Right.
Spider-Man and X-Men, they had vehicles, but they didn't have play sets.
No, they did.
I mean, one.
I mean,
yeah.
Aunt May's apartment, the
No, you had-
X-Men.
You actually had
The dry
you actually
cleaner.
had a Daily Bugle play set that was really cool.
Right.
That's true. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You had the Spider Slayer play set.
Well, that was the Spider Slayer itself, right? That was a vehicle.
Yeah, but it opened up into something. And then
Yeah.
as far as the X-Men, you had the Blackbird jet that
Yes,
opened
you
up
did.
into a play set.
I bought 2 Sentinels and the Blackbird, and in my windowsill, I had the Sentinels kind of facing on a diagonal of each other with the Blackbird in the middle. I loved the way that looked in my window when the sun shined in the morning, and I saw that shadow of the Sentinel going across the Blackbird. I said, "Man, I love what I have in my room." My parents hated it because I had shit all over the place, but I loved watching that stuff. I loved my figures to death. But this is the kind of thing that took away what we loved, not only as comic book fans and fans of these heroes, but I think in a way it underestimated the intelligence level of our children. I think it feeds into this censorship, this over censorship that a child shouldn't be able to concept. Look at from that time to now, what happens when you watch Transformers, when you watch any superhero show? What is it? The main character is not your hero. It's some child, so they have somebody to relate with. I didn't need that as a kid. You didn't need that as a kid. I was happy
I
to see a
always
fucking
hated-
quarterback back in America.
I always hated Spike, Sparkplug, and Rusty.
Right. Right. In the one of the best animated movies of all time, Transformers the animated movie, Daniel, I was hoping was going to get sucked out of an airlock. I did not need that kid in that show whatsoever.
Damn,
Oh,
dude.
The only thing it confirmed to me was that Spike got some. That's all it got. You know what I mean? But
But what about the relationship he had with RC? You know, that was basically his first crush.
who, Spike?
No, Daniel,
Oh, Daniel. Yeah, that was good.
which leads into a whole other bag of worms. 'Cause
Totally.
He's
now
cleaning
he's
the
into the
tailpipe.
toys and stuff, yeah.
He's cleaning the tailpipe, I'll tell you that much. But
Ultra Vibe 5000.
Somebody had to give her a lube job.
you know what I mean? But we have now, they think these kids can't relate with these characters. They have to have a child of their own,
Bridge the
like,
gap.
to bridge the gap. And we didn't need that. Come on now. We didn't need that at all. And what does it do? It dumbs down the storyline that we're watching. There's so many shows that would have been so much better had they not sat there and said, all right, we're going to gear towards 8-year-olds because that's who buys toys, right? But I think an 8-year-old would like to see an adventure. An 8-year-old does not have to see bullshit. You know what I mean? In a sense. And I think, Bob, you still buy stuff today. So I don't think, putting out a show that gets you to buy an action figure is a bad idea.
No, absolutely. I
You know?
always bring things back to He-Man, the animated series, the original He-Man, in the Masters Universe,
Yeah.
just because of the fact that that cartoon was created to sell the toys. Most toys are created to sell the cartoon.
Yeah.
This cartoon was created to sell the toys.
And let me tell you something. Know what sold the toys? And we said this before offline.
The Sears catalog.
The Sears catalog. When I first saw He-Man, being a fan of Thundar the Barbarian, when I
The
first saw
Christmas
He-Man,
wish book.
that was
Christmas book that was like 4 inches thick. You got some clothes, but it was like mostly toys. The Christmas book was basically geared to us.
Yeah, well, it was. But when you see it as Barbarian and the toys and the mythos that you get out of the Sears catalog was more Barbarian than it was science. I mean, they really doubled down for the cartoon. I love the cartoon. I ain't gonna lie, I love the cartoon, but it was not what sold me on those toys. It definitely was that visceral. This is like Conan. Like Conan wasn't something that kids really watched.
Right.
It was so adult like. It was so adult. Especially the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, my parents let me watch it, but like kids weren't watching Conan. But to have a barbarian and have sorcery and stuff like that, I mean, this was a cool thing. And that's what sold it on me, you know. But you know, what happens after shows like Spider-Man Unlimited get taken off the air? Now, because of the same scenario of let's just dumb it down for these young kids who want their parents to buy all this bullshit. Great shows like the Green Lantern animated series. Great show. Great. It was better than the movie, which is what it came out because of. Gets taken out for Teen Titans Go. Because they, and I'll watch
when Teen Titans by itself was an amazing show.
Writing was awesome on it. Writing was awesome on it. It was actually parallel to Batman, the animated series. Almost.
They were just starting to get into great shit. You know, they fast forwarded into the future. They had Superboy join the team. They had Kid Flash join the team.
Yeah.
They had Para join. They were just starting to get into some really great shit. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, fuck you. We're going to turn this into Hi Puffy Ami Yumi.
Yeah. And there was a fucking show that only we remember.
Now, don't get me wrong. Teen Titans Go is a fucking pisser. And they add in adult humor into that show. I can sit there and smoke a fucking bone and watch that show and piss myself. But it is not what it was supposed to originally be. And it pisses me off that they, sure, create Teen Titans Go, but keep the original show going too.
Right.
Why do they have to do that?
And what did it lead to? And I'm not going to do another show on this because this show I won't even watch. I watched 15 minutes of it and I had to turn it off. And I'm accepting of anything. Well, Grant will tell you, I'll fucking watch anything. I don't really give a shit.
Pokemon.
Except for Pokemon. I won't watch Pokemon. The Bassmaster. I watch Bassmaster, right? But Thundercats Roar. Another scenario where they're trying to recreate this bang, bang, bang of Teen Titans Go with another great series that had no reason to be dumbed down at all. Going back to your He-Man reference, here's a show that the original was phenomenal. The remake was even better. And what do? Let's dumb it down for 8-year-olds. And they use the same animation style, and it looks like that RKKO, that series that got canceled because it sucked. You know? So, you know, it makes you look at shows like Spider-Man Unlimited, which is what we're talking about today, and say, you know what? I didn't appreciate it before, but man, let me tell you something. I'm appreciating the shit out of it right now. And I wish they could have done more. I honestly, first time around, I was like, it's okay. It's not bad. I didn't like the MTV Spider-Man as much. So this was better than that. But I wasn't super impressed with it because it was coming off the animated series. It like came off the animated series, I think, too soon.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just too soon to have that remake. But
no, they were trying to ride on the coattails.
It really did, yeah. And it was so different that you're like, I don't know what's happening here. And in all honesty, they fucked up the symbiotes, and I was just, you know, that was the one bad thing about it. But you lose out because of the fact that you're like, hey, I'm sorry, but we got to sell toys, and we got to sell McDonald's toys. Fuck regular toys that cost a lot of money. We need to fucking sell McDonald's toys, you know, stuff like that. So that's what happened, and we get that going on. Guys, it's not coming back. But I loved it. I think you guys liked it too.
It's not coming back, but you can get it on Amazon.
You can definitely get it on Amazon. If you have Disney Plus, I gotta say, I love Disney Plus. We subscribe to it. My kids love it. I love it too because I watch it. You know,
every episode of The Simpsons is on there now. There's 100 Star Wars documentaries you could watch. Mm-hmm. It's great. I'm just now, like all my friends, I'm a huge Star Wars guy.
Yes.
But I never really watched Clone Wars and Rebels.
Oh, yeah. So
now I'm going back and watching all of those because a lot of those episodes tie into The Mandalorian.
They do,
Right.
and that's another thing to understand, that those animated series, much like what the MCU does with a lot of their properties, it's all tying in together. It
Right,
all means
right.
something. This is an epilogue to what happened between this movie and that movie. You know, so
Right.
that is an interesting thing. It makes you watch TV constantly. It can be overwhelming, I understand, but hey, that's what we're gonna do. You know, so guys, great show. A great show about an obscure Spider-Man show that I personally say was underrated and was great. I don't know about you.
And gone too soon. Gone way too soon.
Gone way too soon.
It was one season.
One season.
And,
Damn
and back
shame.
then, I gotta say though, even though it was only one season, back then, one season consisted of 26 episodes.
Yeah, so you did all right.
Nowadays, one season is 9 fucking episodes.
Yeah.
So at least we got the equivalent of almost 3 seasons that would have been today.
True. True. You got to look at it in a lot of different ways to get some kind of enjoyment out of it, because it's not coming back. It's just not coming back. And I feel bad. It sucks because I love Spider-Man. I'm such a Spider-Man fan. And that was a new take on it. And I'm very open to those new takes, you know. But give me something serious, which is why Into the Spider-Verse was such an amazing feat by Sony, because I said they really did something with this. This is awesome, you know, and I'm looking forward to part 2, which is coming out very soon. Guys, we're going to cut it right here. This was great. You guys out there, check out Spider-Man Unlimited. Look it up. If you have Disney Plus, do the trial. I'm sure they have a free trial or something like that. Jump on there.
It's like 7 days or something.
It gives you more than enough time to watch it. Watch it, get the other stuff. I'm not saying we're doing this for Disney Plus, but I'm saying, hey, it's a great resource for all this Marvel material. If you like comics, if you like Star Wars, etc.
The only thing that bothers me about Disney Plus is, I'm going to tell you right now, they have all this Marvel content, but I still can't watch them damn Spider-Man movies on there.
Well, the Sony ones, yeah, you can't. No.
Yeah. Even though they tie into MCU, they should be available on that channel because it was a co-production.
Yep.
And I still haven't seen Far From Home.
No? Oh, I'll
No.
talk to you afterwards. I'll get it. It's the next day. It happened.
We're coming back.
It was the next day. Guys, we had such a great time with this. Check it out. But before you check it out, and before you go to Disney Plus, go down right below Bob and hit that little subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Leave us a comment. If you did watch it, check it out. If you have questions, throw them down there. We're going to answer them for you. And obviously, you can check us out, Capes Not Included, right on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/Capes Not Included. And obviously, right here on the DJB Productions Network. So for Bobby T, who hosts New Comic Book Wednesdays, for
Peace, love,
LeGrand
good, and
Jackson,
comment.
for LeGrand Jackson, who is just chilling in the bar,
Always in the bar.
always in the bar. My name is Danny J. Until next time, keep your cape in the wind and your eyes in the stars. Have a great day, everybody.